Okay, we are now joined by Christopher Rayo, head coach of the Niagara College women's basketball program. A pretty long journey to get yourself there, but like myself, started coaching at a young age. You were, as a student at Cape Breton University, a lead assistant or an assistant coach. Ultimately, spending a year at Acadia as well, out east, while you were in school. Came back to Cape Breton as a lead assistant coach. While you were out east, you and I also crossed paths through Team Ontario, but you were with Team Nova Scotia and working with the provincial sport organization. Came back home for the college gig, which also led to a cup of coffee at the Guelph Nighthawks with Charles Kissy in the bubble year, which is probably a whole conversation in itself. And then ultimately with Victor Razzo and the Niagara River Lions. And now will be the fourth announced head prospect game coach with the Pro Canadian Invitational this year. Super excited to have you on board, and really grateful that we have a bit of a time here to catch up and chat.
Yeah, it's always good to catch up. Our paths crossed a couple of years ago, and that was a great time. But I wish I could clip that first part and just send it as a video resume. That's basically what I need to do, I think.
The hype machine, Coach K Barnes, the hype machine.
Yeah, I mean, you just hit all the points, all the places, and But yeah, no, it's always good to chat. I was excited when you reached out to chat, and yeah, we always have fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. And over the years, we've talked kind of extensively about how do young Canadian guys who are extremely passionate about coaching have an opportunity to get a job with so few places in Canada that pay coaches, and for it to be a job and a career even, it really takes a lot of dedication and sacrifice and commitment, and you've shown that all along the way, and I have a lot of respect for that. Now that you're in the position you're in, what do you think was one of the qualities that helped you to keep going when it was like looking difficult and super uphill?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Like, so I say the same things to the kids I recruit. There are days where it sucks, and there are times where it's hard. So you have to love it. And I really do love what I do. I love coaching basketball. And I try and love the things that suck sometimes. And I try and love the things that are hard, even when they probably don't deserve it.
Yeah.
But what kept me going is just like, this is what I wanted to do, as long back as I remember. It's what I wanted to do. And the fact that I'm in a position right now where I get to wake up every day and basketball is the job is a great place to be. And I'm very grateful. So yeah, when it was hard, what kept me going is the idea that it can happen still. And that I really didn't care about, where it was or how much it was or the time needed for it. I just wanted to do it really, really badly. Because I knew it would make me better. And I knew that if I worked really hard, the opportunity would come. And I still view it that way, that, the harder I work, like the right opportunity will come along eventually. So yeah, I mean, that's what keeps me going.
That's awesome. That's a great message for everybody who's going to tune in here. Do you listen to Nipsey Hussle at all?
Yeah. Right on life, man.
Yeah, I love the quote of his, just like, the only distinguishing quality between me and anyone else, I just didn't quit.
Yeah.
I just kept going. I just kept going, and I kept going. And I love that. I identified with that. Like, there's so many times where, like you said, you've got to find a positive when it's really hard, or like you will quit. And, players, coaches, people in general today, I think there's so many more opportunities to quit than there ever have been before, or change direction or take a different road, that, you really just got to do the work and stay committed. And, when you're passionate like you and I are, I think that gives us an advantage to keep forging forward. You mentioned something interesting to me, as long as you can remember. Like, I kind of grew up a hockey kid. Like, I was from Belleville. Like, I found basketball a little later. but you have some family connections to the game, and you probably grew up a little bit more immersed in it. Like, is that like 4 years old, 3 years old, or like since the crib, or like where? Let's take it right back to the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, mom let me started to let me go to practice. So my dad was a very, very good high school coach for a long time. He recently got the women's job at Brock University, and he's had a lot of success there. And I don't think it's an accident he's had the success there. It's so it's kind of cool to see. I'm very happy for him. That's a guy, when we talk about opportunity, who waited 42 years for his opportunity at the next level, and then got it. And he's taken it on, and he's learned a lot, and he's had a lot of success. But for me, started going to practice when I was about 4 or 5, when I was old enough to know not to run on the court. And I still run into a lot of those guys that were players on the team. I went to the high school after. There's connections with alumni, but when I was around 10, I started paying attention.
Yeah.
And, got to learn what to look for in a player. And I remember watching warm-ups and just being like, Dad, like, that guy's their best player. And I wanted to get that right. Watching a warm-up, could you figure out who the other team's best player was?
Right.
And I started becoming more right than I was wrong. This is something my dad and I have talked about in the past, though. When I was 10, I decided it was what I wanted to do. But when he thought I could be okay at it, I think I was 12 or 13, and he had a really good team that was getting ready to go OFSA.
Yeah.
And I played a playoff game, and they had 6 really good players, and he was bringing a 6'5" kid off the bench. And the kid was in grade 11. He was a really good player, and he was kind of what they needed.
Yeah.
My dad tells the story of where I ran up to him, like, after a game. I'm like, Dad, you got to start so-and-so over this player. And I guess it had been something that he had been thinking about for a couple weeks.
Sure.
And that team finished 4th at Quad A OFSA. I think that they lost to Pickering by 2 at the buzzer.
Yeah.
Ball game. But like, that's not something he said to me then, but that's something when I was, 22, and I was home one summer from Nova Scotia, when we talked about coaching. He's like, I knew you could maybe figure it out around then when you told me that. So
you had a bit of a knack for it.
Yeah. Yes. But like, it wasn't undeveloped, right? Like, we used to watch Big Ten basketball on the couch all the time. We watch college basketball in this house a lot. And we would talk about the game, and we talk about what would happen if you got a program. Like, what would it look like? How would you make it work? These are discussions I was having when I was 14, on the couch. We would just talk about building a program, and, what you need and how it will work, and why you couldn't do these things or could do those things. Or, if you had to go get a player, what position would you look for? Right. If you were building a program, like, just stuff like that, where, I remember those conversations downstairs, and just sitting down on the couch with my pops and trying to figure it out. And, I think that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay. So I really think there's an important message here. First of all, it was Notre Dame High School in Welland, Ontario.
Yeah.
We're not talking about like a huge basketball metropolis. The Rayo father-son combo was putting in the time and making that program a special place to be at, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's all him, man. That's all him. Give him that one. I was, just a snot-nosed kid, but yeah, he put in lots of time and effort into building that up. But yeah, no.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 42-year wait, and being at the high school level, I think it's so important for coaches to realize that no matter what level you're coaching at, you can always want to move to the next level and prepare yourself at the level you're at for how you'll handle yourself at the next level. It's not a situation where this was hard. I learned this too. You don't show up at the next level and figure it out. You get your opportunity at the next level when you're ready, when you've put the time in, when you've earned it, and when you're ready. And in rare situations that may not be true. A player, like a superstar player, may walk into an alma mater job, or, for me, I played low-level college basketball out west. I had a great experience, but I came home and no one knew me as a player. It's not like I had any pedigree. So, you have to earn your stripes as a coach. And when you're ready, you get your opportunity. And it's just really awesome that you guys could be in the basement watching Big Ten games and talking about, what if I got a program? What would I do if I had a program? And that could have been a program in high school. That could have been a program at the university level, but you were having those conversations very early.
Yeah. And, I think that what's lost on people is that, and what I'm very lucky and fortunate about is that I saw basketball from that high school perspective for a long, long time. I think that people who are my age or near my age who may have taken a similar path but didn't have that high school experience, I think that they are at disadvantages.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one thing high school coaches do better than professional coaches, and maybe not the best professional coaches, but definitely people who are in college programs or university programs their whole careers, is they adjust better in game. High school coaches are the best at adjustments because you don't know. You walk into a tournament, you got 5 games in a weekend, you're going to see a bunch of different kids, and you
no
have
game film, no
game film, no time to prepare. If you're lucky, you have a friend who's coached against that team. You can make a call. You can figure out who the players are. Yeah. Or maybe you've seen them earlier that year. Or maybe, you have a kid on your team that plays AAU with those kids, right? So you might have an idea, but in-game adjustments, high school coaching is a place where that's done the sharpest and the best by the best high school coaches. I think that that's a skill, and it's becoming lost. And I think I say that, kind of, it's a little bit sad to me, but it's what the game has become. And it's great because I think that preparation is so important.
Yeah.
But you gotta think, right? Like, even for me, I spend a week on my game plan for a college game.
Sure.
A week, how hard it is to divorce yourself from that game plan in the middle of a game if you've spent a week looking at film and it's a hard thing to do because it's an ego
check. Convinced yourself that this is the way to do it.
Yeah, so it's an ego check a lot of times, right? And sometimes, if you do your preparation right, more times than not, you're going to be right.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to change it on the fly.
Yeah.
High school coaches do that better than anybody, and they're old school coaches. So not everything they did was great, but I got in the car. I drive an 04, so I got a cassette.
Oh,
and
you got the Paul Simon Graceland cassette in there?
Even better. You're going to laugh at me, but I'm a nerd, but I got one of my dad's, his Jim Valvano book. It's
okay.
He narrates it, and it's called, the book is called They Gave Me a Lifetime Contract and Declared Me Dead. And it was written between his time at NC State and before he became sick.
Right.
And he talks about the first 3 quarters of the book are amazing. He talks about his time as a player at Rutgers and playing at Bucknell, or coaching at Bucknell, and coaching at, he was at Iona after that, and he coaching D3 at Johns Hopkins, and his journey and some of these things, and he talks about adjustments. And I would never tell a young coach to look at Jim Valvano for his preparation.
Right.
I would tell him to look at the way he handled himself in the media was really good, and he was kind of a bandit trying to get players, but his in-game adjustments were really good. He doesn't talk about in the book, but if you pull up, they played Virginia in an ACC championship game. Yeah. In a triangle and 2 and put 2 guys on Ralph Sampson.
Right.
So he did crazy stuff.
On the biggest stage.
Yeah. And he just did it because he's this might work. Right. And then the game went away for that for a long time. And now we got Nick Nurse pulling out triangles and 2s and box 1s in the NBA finals and in the World Cup against Australia. Right. The game comes around.
Sure.
And you find weird stuff, and if you have the confidence to try it and you have the players to do it, you do it. But that in-game adjustment, fly by the seat of your pants, is kind of disappearing from the coaching ranks, which is both good and bad because it shows more preparation, but you also lose that sense of creativity.
Yeah, I want to get into this a little bit more, but first and foremost, I'm of an age where I appreciate a cassette more than I would ever laugh at anyone for having a cassette. In fact, I would love an opportunity to chill in the 04 and listen to the Valvano tape with you on a short drive somewhere. That to me is super nostalgic. like basketball purists. I love that. So ride with that, man. The cassettes are where it's at. My garage in Belleville, my old man still has a ghetto blaster in there, and there's a little window that opens up to the back patio, and we would go out there and have a drink, and we would only put cassettes on. So you're talking to the right person when you start bringing up cassette tapes.
There you go.
So I'm with you on that for sure. The other thing I want to ask you is, do you have to have good players to make good adjustments? And why I say that, and this is why the only thing that jumps in my head when you say high school is the land of the adjustments is because when you're playing high school kids, a change in defense can really disrupt them because they might not be able to adjust to it themselves. Like if you go zone, the mystical powers of the zone, it might take them 2-3 trips to even realize they need to start running a different offense. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I drop into a zone at a higher level, university or pro, that trip, it might take 3 or 4 seconds of the shot clock to recognize, but it might be enough to change the rhythm. And then that adjustment at the high level might get me a stop or 2 stops. Whereas like at the high school level, if I drop into the zone at the right time, it could kill a whole quarter. And like they end up with like a 6-punt quarter. So that's what my thought process is. Do the players have to be good to make good adjustments, or is it better if they're inexperienced and, the high school way, so that your adjustment matters more?
Yeah. So I think that my time in the pro ranks, I'll just say, is a game of adjustments. Like there is so much just stuff going on. Yeah. Where it's like counter. And if like one of the best examples anyone can explain it with is Half Court Hoops did a breakdown of the Celtics Raptors series that happened in the bubble. Okay. And it's a 35 minute video. And it's just all the
where can people find that? Where can people
find YouTube? Half Court Hoops.
YouTube. Half Court Hoops. Okay.
Half Court Hoops. It's like 35 minutes of just like adjustment. And it's Brad Stevens and Nick Nurse at like the peak of their powers doing stuff. And it's ridiculous. Yeah. Now, what I'll say is that you need, what's a good adjustment, right? So like, is it the result? Are you basing it on the result? Like, cause you can have terrible players and they can miss a bunch of layups after you make a good adjustment. And it's still it's the right thing to do. Right. Like just because a kid misses a shot doesn't mean it was the wrong move from a coaching perspective. Right. We have a saying in our house, and you'll like this one a lot. And I use this a lot of time. I don't think I've used it in public yet, but if a kid makes a shot, I'm a genius. If they miss a shot, I'm an idiot. Right. Like that's ultimately what we're judged on. Basically. As coaches. It's a little crude and not necessarily true, but if a kid misses a shot, they'll call me an idiot. If a kid makes a shot, they'll say I'm really smart. And that's, like my kids made shots this year, and all of a sudden they give you an award. Yeah. Right. Great. They hit shots. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Thanks. But it comes down to the players ultimately if you're going to win or lose. But you can put them, even if they're not the most skilled or the best players, in good positions to succeed, hopefully. Yeah, yeah. Like you're saying, like making that switch to a zone or whatever it is. And, part of me appreciates when a good adjustment happens against me. Like, we're playing Fanshawe this year, and their coach called a timeout. Shout out to the Carrier family. Yeah, the Carriers. Bill got me this year. I'm still pissed about it, but he knew exactly what I was going to talk about on defensive timeout. They were on the same play, and they were cutting a kid through from the strong side to the weak side. And I'm like, just stop. And then setting a wing ball screen. Mm-hmm. And they were killing us on the inside. They were getting it to their roller. And I'm like, just stop on the help line. And I spent 48 of a 50-second timeout talking about stopping on the help line. Yeah. Doesn't come out. He puts a shooter in that spot, runs her to the opposite corner, throws a skip pass. Right. She missed the shot, but I'm swearing on the bench like Bill got me. Like, I have to throw that one in the back of my mind for next year. But you you can appreciate these things and learn from them ultimately. Sure. But you have to see them happening, right? Like that's why we work so hard to learn this stuff, is so that when it happens in front of your face, it's not just a blur of people moving. Yeah. You can see the pattern in it. Yeah. But Yeah, it does. Good players, bad players, adjustments are important.
Yeah.
They're more subtle and happening faster with better players.
Yeah. And I think you got to know your team too. Like, while you were talking there, I was thinking to myself, like, some teams are better when you don't stick your nose in it as a coach. You just let them play, and they have good internal leadership, and you can trust them to make plays. And ultimately, coaching means staying out of it. Some teams are better when you help and micromanage some stuff and set the pieces for them and do that. But it's a tricky thing, because when you spend so much time watching tape and learning the game, you almost can, it's really easy to do too much.
Yeah.
Because you know so much, and you're passionate. You want to share everything you know with everybody that you talk to. And then you end up not communicating effectively and clearly, and you guys don't all get on the same page. And so that's a challenge. I've struggled with that. In the beginning, we were coach club. One of my assistant coaches, Tony Spiritus, was a player at Western at the time. We had a London Rambo team. We used to joke that, I was a puppet master. I'd be like, you go here, run this, go there, run that, run this, run that, get the pieces, like, and it was a low enough level, and the guys bought in enough that we had some success with it. But now looking back, like, it was exhausting, and it wasn't what was best for the team ultimately, but we got a little success there. So when you coach now with your women's team, how much are you involved on a possession by possession basis?
Offensively, I try and stay the hell out of the way.
There you go.
I teach them to play, and I might shout, like, at the college level, you have to understand that we had a pretty good team,
right,
top to bottom. We had good athletes. We could beat you off the bounce at, depending on our lineup, 3 or 4 spots at any one time. And if our center had a good matchup, we could beat you off the bounce there too.
Yeah.
A lot of it would be just like teaching our girls to look for matchups, running our continuity.
Right.
And then once you get the matchup, you go. And we would just go into a game and we'd say, anytime so-and-so is on the court, we want to put her in a ball screen.
Right.
Anytime so-and-so is on the court, let's see if we can go by her on the second side.
Right.
So, but it was really hands off on offense, and we just teach spacing and we teach how to play in practice, and we really stress some of these things, and you just kind of let them go, and you remind them when they're not spacing properly, or, like that's basically it offensively. I don't like play 2-7, play, run X, run Y, run so-and-so. That's never been me. I know it works for people, but it's just not what I've done. Maybe I need to do more of it. That's been part of my reflection this offseason, is figuring out if we need more set plays, if we need different stuff. But defensively, I'm very involved.
Yeah.
I want to try and be a sixth voice, because hopefully you pick your team up and help them talk, right? Like, I know that in practice I need to be quiet so that they learn to talk, but there's no reason to be quiet during a game when you can be another voice and help, right? So
yeah, I love that. That's such good advice, and like wisdom through experience, right? Like, I think when you're young, you're that sixth voice all the time. And your idea, my idea anyways, was like, I'm going to set the example of how to talk and how to be enthusiastic and loud and communicative. But, as you get older, they don't learn. You're telling the same kid over and over again from 14 to 25, hey, talking is really important on defense. Like, we really got to talk out there. The only way they learn is if you shut up and let them do it.
Yeah. And there's times to shut up, right? Like, hopefully our level, the difference between, at the college and the high school or a developmental level is that there's more pressure to win now, right? So, like, you're on the court if you're helping the team. If you're not, you're not. And one of the reasons, like, is the structure of it, right? Like, those kids that aren't playing are getting an education. Some of them are getting scholarship money, right? So, like, I don't feel guilty about not playing a kid.
Right.
Whereas, like, when I was coaching club ball, and it's like that kid's paying the same as they're all paying the same. I want to play you. I want this to be a good experience for you, so that you have basketball in your life for a long time. So that's just the way that I always approached it. Growing up, provincial team's different. Provincial team, hey, we fundraise that gets us on the plane. When we
Yeah.
go national, we'll play all summer. When we go to that national championship, we're going to represent the province. We're trying to win,
Yeah.
right? So like those are the some of the things with, we're able to play you
Mhm.
as a kid who doesn't talk a lot in London, Ontario in an OBA tournament, but it becomes harder if we're stepping on the floor against Western or Fanshawe or the London Lightning, or it just, so those things become even more important. But
Yeah.
like you said, like shutting up so they learn. I was listening to a book. I was golfing today because
Where'd you play? Love golf.
just
Crazy
Will.
about golf.
Yeah, I am crazy about golf.
Where'd you play? I'm so jealous.
Course called Willowdale, just one of the ones
Okay.
around here.
Yeah.
Nice par 72.
Yeah.
A little wet, a little muddy, but it was fun. But I was listening
Pick and place.
Yeah, pick and place. A lot of towels pretty dirty. You gotta get that washed tonight. But
Yeah.
I was listening to a book, and there was a really good line in it where we have to take the knowledge. No one cares about the knowledge on the sideline. They care about the knowledge on the field.
Yeah.
And it's a good way of, one thing I try and remind myself, I have written in my office, like near my computer, is that no one gives a shit how much you know.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, no one cares, right? So, like, listen, I love my Niagara College athletes.
Yeah.
They're Niagara College athletes, right? Some of them are university graduates. Some of them are high school kids preparing to go to university after. But we have lots of different levels of, we'll call it intellectualism.
Right.
So, like, I think it's really important for a coach to ask questions during practice.
Sure.
Right? What do you see? Why would we do this? Why would we do that? Why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I get awful answers.
Right.
But that's my job, is to figure out what those answers are. If I'm asking,
but sometimes do you want to blast them for that awful answer?
no, I mean,
sometimes you got to get frustrated.
Oh,
you're like,
sometimes you get
damn
frustrated.
it! How do you not know that? Like,
yes, but the hard part is if you do that, then you stop the learning, because then no one wants to answer your questions.
For sure.
I need them to participate.
For sure.
So I will put up with terrible answers if it gets me to get them to a good answer. So there's give and take. Like I really care about our effort and our compete. And I don't care if they answer a question awful.
Right.
Like that's just something that you can't boil the ocean. You can't do everything, right? So the hard part is, like, at the college level, there's a reason we have them, right?
Yeah.
Even at the at every level you go to, there's a reason they're there, right? You're never going to get the perfect player. One school in the States got perfect players for 20 years. UConn women, they got the perfect player.
Right.
And they only got like 5 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Everyone else, it's like, oh, they give you headaches, right? Like it's very rare for the perfect player to walk through the door. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're with you for a reason. You can help them become the best version of themselves, and they can pull better coaching out of you if you let them.
For sure.
But you can't meet everyone at a place where you expect them to know, or you expect them to be at a certain level, because you don't know what their background is ultimately. Even if you get 2 kids from the same high school program, they might know completely different stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I make this joke, like my first year at Niagara College, my starting front court, one girl played at a school called Smithville Christian. The other girl played at a school called, what the heck's it called? Beacon Christian or something like that.
Okay.
Single A farm basketball in rural Niagara.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we got to go play Humber. Right. We got to go scrimmage and play against Brock.
Right.
We got to go play against these really top level athletes. Like that's a huge jump.
For sure.
Single A ball to, like, now you're playing some of the best college teams in the country.
Yeah.
It's a big jump.
Yeah.
Like I think I said the word ISO in like October.
Right.
And these 2 girls looked at me like I had 3 heads. They're like, what are you talking about? Right. But that was just the learning experience for me. I have to learn to meet people where they're at and try and pull them up with our language.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. And I think the most important part of that message is that's at every level, because that's a human thing. That's a personal thing. Like everybody learns differently, and everybody's got baggage and have gone through life in a different way, and meeting them where they're at, as opposed to trying to set the standard and bring them all up there is a really good approach, I think. And, that's kudos to you for understanding that. And yeah, I don't think that's just about your level. I think that's about people and, where they all come from and how they learn and their upbringing and who they are, as, ultimately as people. So,
and I think, I don't know what your experience is with this, but when you work for lots of different coaches, like when I was an assistant with Matt Skin at CBU, or they brought in another coach. I worked with another coach at CBU, or I worked with Kevin Duffy at Acadia, or Charles or Victor. They all have different languages. They all speak about the game differently.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I know you were at Western, so I know that you had to learn.
I've worked for a lot of different people, for sure.
Yeah. So it's like walking into a different language every time you do it. So even the professional guys, you might say something, they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Yeah. Guys who have played for years, who know way more about basketball than I do.
Right.
And you say something, and they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I have to meet them where they're at and figure out what language they're talking, so I can explain what I need to at a better level.
For sure.
It's that's the cool part about this game, is everyone's bringing different experiences. And like you said, that's people too.
Yeah. Let's jump back to the Team Nova Scotia stuff. Nova Scotia is actually a really competitive province in the grand scheme of basketball in this country. And I'm not sure people in Ontario really realize that. I think my first year, which was in Kamloops, you were there, I think, with the U15 team.
I was 17 that year.
So you were part of that championship team.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to do the color commentary for the gold medal game. Mm-hmm. And, I was just so shocked at how you guys played. You really didn't have a big on the floor. You spaced, you played fast. Kellen Tynes kind of pushed the tempo for you. And I think it was Deshaun Downey was a really electric two guard who was just tough and dogged on both ends. And, you guys really controlled the game from tip against a much more athletic and a much bigger Quebec.
So, listen, that was Nova Scotia produces great basketball players.
Yeah.
That was a great group of Nova Scotian basketball players within a great group of Nova Scotian basketball players. Like that group,
right,
before I got there, won a national title at U15 as well.
Right.
Kellen Tynes, man, that guy's a leader. That guy's a leader. And then there was a kid on that team who I love, one of my favorite players ever. He plays for MSVU now, Jackson Smith. Yeah, I love that kid, and he's 6'1" Draymond Green. He's right. But you get those kids like Nova Scotia is hard to explain to people, the basketball scene, but they don't care who you are. They really don't give a shit.
Right.
I used to talk about this with Ryan Dickinson all the time. Shout out Ryan. He's the man.
Yeah. All right.
But a Nova Scotia kid, so you go in nationals and everyone's wearing these nice tracksuits, Team Ontario and their Nikes, Quebec's and their Adidas. Everybody's in BC's and their sharp stuff. Alberta got some weird Chinese manufacturers. They got a deal. But they're all in these nice things. And you show up in Nova Scotia, you got a t-shirt, you got a hoodie, right? I don't think they gave us track pants, but
right.
You're wearing team stuff.
Yeah.
And, you look at some of the provinces that are comparable size to Nova Scotia, right? New Brunswick and, Manitoba and PI, and they all got big eyes. All those kids, they're looking at them, they got big eyes. They're like, look, Team Ontario's got all these, they got the Kyries and they got big eyes. And our Nova Scotia kids, they're like, oh, you're from Toronto? F you, I'm from Dartmouth. F you, I'm from Halifax, right? It's that attitude.
They got a chip on their shoulder.
They got a chip, but they're from the spot where they are at.
Right.
I'm from Halifax. Why do I care about you?
Yeah.
Right? We're ballers too. We play, right? And even the kids from outside, they're like, yeah, we play out here.
Yeah.
And the other difference is it's growing up. Where'd you grow up, Kev?
I grew up in Belleville.
Yeah. So how many kids in Belleville did you know that played on the provincial team?
None. Until I don't even know if Barbeau, there was a group of kids 3 or 4 years younger than us. Ryan Barbeau, Luke Chapman, Aaron Chapman, the Boyle brothers. They ran off 3 office championships in a row. And they were number 1 seed at OFSA every year. They were number 1 seed at OBA. They were good. But other than that,
so like maybe like 3 or 4 kids,
that's
right?
it. Yeah.
Like I maybe knew 2 in Niagara.
Yeah, exactly.
Every kid in Nova Scotia,
yeah,
like every kid in Halifax knows at least 20 guys who have played for Team Nova Scotia. It's not this thing that's far off. It's this thing where if you're one of the best players, you're expected to play.
Right. There's a bit of a population disparity in that comparison. How many people are in Halifax?
There's 1 million people in Nova Scotia. There's like 950,000. That's like Niagara. It's like if Niagara had a
okay, but Niagara doesn't have a provincial team, but I get what your point is.
But
it's more of a closer community.
It's a closer community, but it's like Nova Scotia 1 to 12 can play with anybody.
Right.
12 to 250, not so much. Right. Like that's the difference. And but they get their 12 all the time because like Callan Tynes' older brother played for Team Nova Scotia.
Right.
This kid, Ryan Monroe. I coached in U17. I coached his brother Kyle Monroe, U15.
Right.
Like Jackson Smith's older brother played for Team Nova Scotia.
Right.
Caleb Johnson's brother and cousin played for Team Nova Scotia. Jashawn Downey's cousin played for Team Nova Scotia. Right. Like
family. It's family out there, and they all compete.
Family business, and you better go and get a medal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Go get a medal because
it's your turn. It's your turn to rep.
Yeah, you got to go, and it's a really fascinating. It was really cool to be a part of. After that U17, so like speaking of staying the hell out of the way, we didn't run anything on offense with that team. We ran barely any. Chris Holland did a very good job with that team. He was the head coach, but we basically ran a down screen to start a possession.
Right.
Offensively.
Yeah.
And to their credit, to the coaching staff's credit, I was put on to that staff late, but they just let me run the defense.
Right.
And I was a maniac. But that team needed a maniac on defense because it was so loosey-goosey. Like, I don't know if you remember. That game is on for anyone that has it. That second half of that game we're talking about, the final.
Yeah.
Is on the coaching toolbox thing. Like the basketball coaching thing.
Nice.
And it might be on YouTube somewhere, but like we were way outmatched, man. They have a top 15 pick. They got a kid playing at Washington State. They were huge. They were way better than us.
Yeah, I know. They beat us in overtime to get to you.
I know. I watched that game, and then I spent all night just sitting at my computer going, like, how the hell are we going to stay with this?
Didn't you play some 1-3-1 in that?
So we didn't play a 1-3-1. I wouldn't give up what it is exactly.
It was amoeba or some shit.
It is the amoeba.
You can't trick me. You can't trick me, coach. I'm with it. So I put too much time in.
It is the amoeba. We put it in. Sorry, I put it in.
Yeah.
The thumbs up, and it was in. That's the other advantage. We have the kids from April. So we put it in, and we played it all summer, and we got pretty good at it. And we didn't show it at nationals. I just kept it in my pocket.
Nice.
Kept it in my pocket because I knew we were going to need it against you guys, or we were going to need it against Quebec because we just needed.
Yeah.
And thank God, Quebec's adjustments was we're going to put the shooters on.
Right.
Well, we could guard the white.
That's
kids
perfect. That's what you want.
Yeah, we could guard those guys one-on-one. So we just manned up. And then they put their players back in, and we go back to it. And I still don't think they know what it was, right? Like, I just think it was one of those things that, screwed them up so bad. Like, I would run into some of those players I coach because they went to AUS schools after and were around in the city.
Yeah.
And I get texts from some of the guys like, hey, do you have that defense in with your team? And I don't. It's something that
you'll never run again. That's retired.
I like it, but it's
I'm never running that again.
It's one of those things, right, where you can look back fondly and like that's an adjustment that impacted a game that helped the team win. Callan Tynes had a hell of a basketball game though. You don't wait. Like, it doesn't matter what defense we play. If Callan Tynes and Ryan Monroe and Jackson Smith and Caleb Johnson and Jashawn Downey, if those guys don't play well, we don't win. And they play well, and the scheme happened to work that day. And
Yeah.
Curtis Coward did a good job with the substitutions, and yeah, I got a ring downstairs with a national. I got a national championship ring downstairs, right? Just
Yeah,
because
that's amazing.
right?
That's
But yeah, that's a fond memories. Thank you for bringing it up, man. I don't get to talk about that game much that week. And
no
then we
problem.
had a great. That was our introduction. We had a fantastic night after.
Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately, I seem to always be the bridesmaid, never the bride. Great guy to have at the championship party, but always the second place or runner up. So I'm looking forward to my time as a champion, which I'll be pursuing for the remainder of my life here on Earth.
It comes around. It comes around.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So all these games you've been involved with your whole life. Like, do you have like? Let's go two ways with this. One, do you have like a pep talk or like a moment in the locker room before or halftime or after a game that really sticks out to you as like a defining moment? And then after we talk about that, let's talk about how you utilize pregame, halftime, and postgame currently.
Yeah.
Or in reverse order.
As for one that sticks out, I'll start on that.
Okay.
I've been around the game for a long time. I'm only 27, but like I said, we've talked about, I've been kicking around since I was 5.
Yeah.
And the ones that stick out are the locker rooms for these kids after their last games.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that stick out. I don't think that locker room speeches are defining or in a lot of ways, but I think that the most meaningful time to be in a locker room or when there's smiles and hugs or tears after the last game.
Yeah.
And more often than not, much more often than not, it's tears.
Yeah.
And it's a time when those are probably the most important times we have as coaches, because we can set into perspective for our athletes what their contributions meant, and where they will lead the rest of the people in the room. So those are very important to get right. They're highly emotional, and you have to be heartless to not feel for your players.
Sure.
One of the things that sticks out with me, it's a Dean Smith quote, is that like he refused to go cut down the net the first time they won. Right. He said, "I'll have another chance to do this.
Right.
My seniors won't."
Right.
Which he was right. Those kids are done, right? Like they don't get another kick at it. As a coach, we get to go back to the office, sit down, take a deep breath, and then start worrying about next year.
Yeah.
But, as far as like defining moments, I would just say that those are ones that stick with me more than other ones where they're important. Like obviously I remember some of my dad's speeches before Tribune tournament finals or OFSA championships. I remember a halftime speech a player gave at a bronze medal game at OFSA, where he stood up and he's like, "Why are we in this defense? Why don't we just man?" And then everyone looked around and went, and this was a bench player. Right. And everyone looked at each other and went, "Yeah, he's right." And then they went out and played man. They played much better in the second half. Like just stuff like that, right? Like those are more defining moments than anything you could pre-prepare, pre-say. Is just the organic emotions in those locker rooms. That's what makes them special. That's why people miss them when you leave them.
Yeah.
But as for how you utilize them.
Well, let me just jump in real quick, because you really got me going here on something. And it's something that I always tried to do, but it's really hard to actually do. It's the advice to play every game like it's your last. Mm-hmm. And I remember my last game, and might have been the best game I ever played. And if you could actually do that, if like a player could actually sit down to themselves and like actually play like every game was their last, their career would be marketably better, because the last game is so amazing. You're in the moment. It goes so fast, but the problem is it ends so quickly. Yeah. And if you didn't give your whole self, it really comes to you fast that like it's over.
Yeah.
And so those moments are so impactful. They're so meaningful.
So one of the things we try and do at our program is we frame things as, because no matter what your team's constructed like, no matter how many seniors you have or freshmen you have, that group of people will never be together
Yeah.
in that capacity again after that season.
Right.
So you only have so many opportunities.
Yeah.
It would be, you would go crazy if you tried to live every day like it was the last opportunity, but you feel shitty if you waste an opportunity.
You
So
don't get
just
it back.
the constant reminder of like, we only have so many opportunities, whether that's a game or a practice, you only have so many opportunities. It's finite. So
Yeah.
reminding your players, and like one of my players this year she would say, "Oh, it's the opportunity speech," right? Like she would say that. I was saying it, but it is important, and I'll keep saying it, because they need to understand that you only get so many as a team.
Yeah.
Right. You only get so many as an individual player. So why not take advantage of them? Why not focus in on those opportunities and give it the best effort? And I feel like that's probably a better chance as a coach than like trying to convince a player that a Tuesday night game in
the most important
November is the most important game of their lives. No, but there's only so many of these, right? Like you're gonna miss these. These are the opportunities. So don't wait.
And nothing's guaranteed. That's a life lesson too. And unfortunately, just like in life, until you lose, until you go through hardship, you never really fully can appreciate the moment and what you have, and be blessed and grateful for what you have. Let's go, like, what do you do now for pregame? How does halftime look? Like, you don't have to give away all your secrets, but like, do you go in 40 minutes before, 10 minutes before? Do they warm up? Do they come back in? Like, what's your routine?
So our team comes in at 38.
Okay.
And we talk 8 to 10 minutes, depending. Put the numbers of the opposing team starters on the board.
Yeah.
And I get them to talk through their matchup. I get our starters to say, I go number 5, and I'll go Lex, and I'll go number 6, and I'll go Big T. Their matchup. Talk about your matchup, right? Because at that point, no one cares if I know about their matchups, right? You got to know your matchups, right? You got to know your personnel. So
for sure,
that's the first thing. Do that. Stress on 1 or 2 points, something we worked on in practice, something that needs to happen. Can I swear on here?
Please be yourself.
Let's run these motherfuckers out of the gym, and then we'll get out on the court and we'll have a good 28 to 30-minute warm up. Before the game.
Yeah. I know people don't like swearing, and I get it, and I'm all with that, but nothing gets you fired up and ready for battle like a good curse word.
Yeah, you gotta drop it at the right time, right? You gotta drop it.
Look at my side with fuck Brooklyn. That got a whole nation razzed up.
Man, I walked into our change room a couple times this year because that's their space, so I don't go in there unless it's game day, and they'll be like, F so-and-so team, whatever team we're playing, basically on the board. And I'm like, I wonder where they learned that from.
Yeah. That's like a parent. That's a parenting moment. Like,
it's
my kid throws an F-bomb. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Why would you say that? It's like,
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. But so, that's pretty much our pregame is, matchups. What do we need to do? All right, let's go.
Yeah. And what happens at halftime?
Halftime, I let them go in. They go in. They talk. You have to train that, though. You have to train what they talk about. Yeah. So that's the thing that coaches don't understand a lot of times, young coaches, is that you have to teach kids how to talk.
Right.
So that's done in practice. That's done in huddles. And that's part of shutting up.
Yeah.
But I know that when my team huddles on the court during a free throw, matchups, how we guard the ball screen, are we running something?
Right.
If they cover those 3 things, we're good. Yeah. Right? So I make them do it in practice.
Yeah.
You cover those 3 things and you have time, you can talk about other stuff. But
you
need to know, and whatever your 3 things are as a coach.
Yeah.
On halftime, they go in, they talk about stuff. I walk in. I stole this from Vic. Offensive or defensive points, offensive points. A lot of times I'll look for input.
Yeah.
Or if there's something that really, really needs to change, we'll stress that. But defense, offense, and then like you have a minute or 2 to talk about it. If someone needs to say something, I'm more than okay with a player piping up and saying something. But defense and offense covered quickly. Yeah. No more than 3 points for each of them. Sometimes that's not the best approach. If it's just effort, it's just effort. So you throw the board out. But Yeah, I like to write defense, offense on the board, have a couple points, walk in there, and then you see if they have input. A lot of times you'll hear them, what they're talking about is some of the stuff you want to talk about, so that makes it easy.
Right.
We got to take care of the ball. Why aren't we pushing this person this way, or why aren't we doing this? Yeah. So that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, that's basically a pre-games matchups. One or two things we need to do. Let's go. Halftime is one or two things on offense or defense. What do we need to fix? Let's go out there.
Yeah. And then post game, does it change if you win? Does it change if you lose? Or is there anything at all, or how do you deal with it after?
Yeah. So keep it quick. We don't need to bog them down on things. You have to feel the moment a little bit. Like, there are times to keep it quick, and every once in a while, like my first year, we got run out of the gym in London at Fanshawe, and we were just so out of shape.
Yeah.
And we needed to sit down. We needed to talk about it because we had a 2.5 hour bus ride, and that needed to be addressed.
Right.
We had to talk about, like, we had 7 freshmen, and I just had to be like, "Hey, welcome to college basketball.
Yeah.
Harder, right? It's worth it, but it's hard.
Yeah.
So we got to get in better shape." And credit to that team, they did it. They got in better shape. But most of the time, it's short and sweet because we see them again the next day.
Yeah.
I know lots of club teams, you might not see each other for weeks, so you might have to debrief a little bit more.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we'll keep it quick. We'll do our quick celebration or a quick, just like, hey, this is something from the game that we need to think about for tomorrow at practice or Monday at practice. We'll see you then.
Nice. You brought up a magical place, something that you and I probably have both spent far more time on than we probably should at this young age. It might catch up to us at the end of the road here, but the bus.
Yeah.
Road trips, like, do you remember, like, do any stick out to you? Like, do you have a favorite road trip or one that sticks out to you in your career that, this is either like a great story or just like, I couldn't believe how long it was, or, anything like that?
I mean, I love the bus.
Yeah.
I love the bus. I love it more now that I live in Niagara than when I did in Cape Breton.
Right.
You're getting on the bus at Cape Breton. The closest one's 2.5 hours. Everything else is 4+.
Right.
So you get some long trips. Everything Niagara, it's great. I'm home by midnight on basically every road game.
Right.
That's great. No, I mean, yeah, there's some stuff like leaving New Brunswick at 6 around like 4 o'clock on a Sunday and getting home at 5 a.m. on Monday and going to a 10 o'clock class, or not going through a 10 o'clock class was more my style.
Yeah.
But
getting the work done. Getting the work done.
I mean, hey, man, got the degrees. That's all that matters.
That's it.
I remember waking up one night, middle of the night, 3 a.m. in a snowstorm and coming home from Fredericton in Amherst, and looked out the front of the bus, and it's a 4-lane highway. You can't see any of the lines.
Right.
It's covered in snow. There's a blizzard going on.
Yeah.
We're going 80, and there's a deer running in front of the bus alongside the bus. And I'm just like, I'm going to close my eyes now.
Go back to sleep.
Hope for the best, right? Like, that's one of my blessings, is that I was able to sleep on the bus.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bus is a lot of fun. A lot of great stories, get an education, some old school basketball from some of the older coaches I worked with. And when you travel with the women's team or the men's team, when you're coach, it's good. But I was saying this to another friend of mine. I love being on the bus as an assistant. It's the best. No pressure.
No worries.
Get there on time. Yeah. Show up. Smile. If the coach asks you to call a restaurant, you call a restaurant.
Yeah.
But as a head coach, it's all stress. From minute the bus pulls into the school, is everyone going to get here on time?
Oh, yeah.
To the minute the bus parks at the gym,
are
we there on time? Like, it's much more stressful as a head coach. It's way better being an assistant coach on a bus.
Definitely. I'll tell a story myself. You got me going with your out east talk there. I went to school in Alberta,
Yeah.
at University of Alberta, Augustana faculty. So college level basketball, but had the chance to get a university degree from the University of Alberta. And my first year, I don't want to date myself too much, be about 2006.
Okay.
So we get up there and we got to go up to Grand Prairie from Camrose, Alberta. And that's about like 14-hour.
Yeah, you gotta go around, right?
You got to go, you're way up there.
Oh.
Right. And we pull into town after this grueling bus ride and, whatever, we were young and playing cards and whatever, it's no big deal. But we get to the main strip up there and it's like it feels like an old Western movie. Like, it's like you're in the middle of this like crazy cowboy land, and the hotel is called the Grand Prairie Inn.
Yeah.
Because like there's no franchise up there or anything. It's Grand Prairie Inn. It's the big hotel right in the center of town. Like that's where you're staying.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. We walk into the lobby and everyone that's in the lobby is smoking. And I'm like, where the hell are we? Like, you could still smoke up here, like inside. And it was like, whatever, later, it all became clear to me. We got to the game and like the deputy of the police station, the mayor and like the secretary were the three referees. The like student section was on the baseline. It was like $1 beer night. And we were bad. So it was guaranteed win night when we came up there. It was just a gong show.
Oh, Alberta's special, man. Special.
Yeah. I had a really great time out there. I met some great people, lifelong friends, and, think back of that time fondly. But yeah, man, let's switch gears a little bit. So, me well enough to know that like, I really care about growing the game and I want to like create jobs for coaches. I want to find ways to increase participation. And one of the ways that people are making a bit of money in basketball now, and I think they get a bad rap, is skill trainers. Where do you sit on the whole skill trainer side of things? And like maybe from player development, like how important is it to work on your individual skills outside of practice to actually play at the next level now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated question because obviously there's a place in the game for them. If there wouldn't be so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an appetite for them.
Sure.
And you're right. They get a bad rep, but they fit in our ecosystem in a weird way.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what I've liked is I've seen some different organizations move towards hiring a skills trainer. So like, Mississauga Monarchs and Pelham Panthers and, Vaughan, like they're all hiring their own in-house skills trainer.
Yeah.
I think I really like that ecosystem because it keeps everything up and up.
Yeah.
It protects the players and it protects the skills coaches, quite frankly.
Yeah. It gives them a more consistent income potentially as they're brought in under the organization.
And they can still build their brand out from underneath that, right?
And
the organization is a mutually beneficial.
Yeah. I like that model too.
And I think that those things make a lot of sense in our development model that's existing.
Yeah.
The trouble becomes, not everyone's going to fit in those molds.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that we have to be careful of with skills trainers is, are we protecting the best interests of our players? Right. In the sense of, yes, you have to work on your game to become a college or university athlete.
Yeah.
But does the skills trainer necessarily know what's going to get you there?
Yeah.
That's why pairing them with organizations, it helps with their coach education, keeps them reputable, makes everything up and up.
For sure.
The one thing that we want to avoid is kids being taken advantage of.
Sure.
Right. Like I think that as coaches who care about kids, that's something that we should care about. And as coaches, we should care about keeping coaches reputable so it doesn't hurt our reputation either. So that coaches don't get shown in a bad light. And I think there's lots of great skills trainers who aren't in that model, who are doing great things for kids. Right. It's just because there's no model. Right. Like it's a new frontier. So it's a little bit like the Wild West. It's just the way it is. Sure. And we need to support these skills trainers and help them build their brands and help them develop. But we can also benefit. The OBA system can benefit, the OSBA system can benefit, the college system can benefit, and the university system can benefit. The issue becomes, where skills trainers think that their benefit comes from claiming they can send players places where players, quite frankly, aren't going to fit.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Sure.
I'm so-and-so and I sent X kids D1.
Yeah. So come train with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you? One, did you? And
Yeah.
two, was that the best? Did the kid stay there? Was it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a problem at all of our levels, though. Like, that's the same thing with the AAU teams and the club teams, where a player comes and plays one tournament for you, and then you're the reason he got a D1 scholarship.
Yeah. And you ran into that more than me, right? Like, that was your life for a little bit. That was happening, and it happened to you.
Yeah.
And it's part of it is that we don't do a good enough job domestically as a youth sport in CCAA. And I talked about this with the Tyler Bennett, the Sports Network.
Yeah.
We don't do a good enough job making kids feel like if I stay home, those opportunities are going to be there. And that's why this thing's so exciting that we're doing together.
Yeah.
The Combine series.
Yeah, the Pro Canadian Invitational.
Pro Canadian Invitational is really exciting because, yes, you can stay home and play professional, which every kid in Usports thinks they're going to play professional.
Yeah.
And they all legitimately have a shot if you develop and you become good. People will find you. There are lots of levels of professional.
For sure.
Right? And the fact that that's not either promoted enough or kids don't feel comfortable enough where it's like, I have a really good Usports offer, I want to stay, or I have a really good CCAA offer, I want to stay. That's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've invited into this ecosystem of a place where, hey, if I send you to a really shitty D1, like Chicago State, worst D1.
Yeah.
I send you there. I just put a NCAA logo with a tick beside my name. And now I get 2 more kids that I can send to a bad situation.
Right.
Like, so that's where folding them into existing organizations, I think, works really well and is more stable income, like you were saying. And then also helping with standards and what it needs to be. But there's obviously a place for skills trainers.
Yeah.
There's lots of great ones out there that really help players and players love and players want to go work with in the summer and want to go work on games. So that's fantastic. Yeah. How do we protect those guys? How do we help those guys so that there's not people taking money from them who aren't doing good enough, who aren't doing a service to the players?
Right. I mean, listen, that was a loaded question I gave you. Like, and I think the model you're talking about where the organizations help is a great one. It requires the organizations to change, though, and be okay with an individual making money. And one of the sort of ways we've built basketball in Canada through a not-for-profit channel, it's kind of frowned upon to make money. Whereas, like, bring that guy in, let him run training for your kids, pay him to do it. The organization can make a little money as well. Everyone's happy. It's governed. It's organized. It's great. The other part of this, though, I think, is that we need to find more ways for kids to experience basketball. Not every kid can be on a team. Mm-hmm. And there's only 12 kids on a team. Every club is cutting kids. It needs to be okay for a father or a mother to pay someone $50 to come to their house or go to the Y and spend an hour teaching their kid basketball skills. Yeah. Just like they would piano or violin or a tutor teaching math. Like, your kid's not going to go to the NBA. If he is, you don't need to find a skilled trainer. There's going to be plenty of people that are willing to train that kid and help him out. Mm-hmm. But we need to accept that, like, there are kids that aren't probably going to play at the next level, that don't fit into a team structure for whatever reason. They don't thrive in that once a week they could go see someone, a basketball tutor, spend an hour playing basketball with this person, learning of maybe a crazy handle that he watches Steph Curry do, or learning something wild. Like, not every kid has to be in the stream of, this is how I take what I learn in basketball, I apply it to high performance games and get to the next level. It can just be fun. It can just be like, I'm going because I like watching the game and I want to experiment a little bit. And I want someone who is older than me, who's like a mentor, who knows what they're talking about, in my eyes, doesn't necessarily have to connect to the game. And that can be a way for kids to increase participation, experience our sport in a different way. That I started feeling that way when the pandemic hit, and I had no way to make an income, and we weren't allowed to go to the gym. So I started doing driveway coaching, and I would just go, and these kids were terrible in the most part at the game.
Yeah.
But did we have fun for an hour? Did they ultimately feel better about themselves, self-esteem wise? Did they think they learned something cool, or, they walk into school a little bigger? Like, there was so much great that came out of it. I realized that skill training isn't necessarily about getting the kid to the next level, and it can be more about just experiencing the game in a different way.
That's a super interesting perspective that, quite frankly, I hadn't thought about. But no, that's exciting. Like, thinking about it that way is exciting, as long as it's talked about that way. Right?
Yeah, and that's the challenge.
That it's not, right? Like,
yeah,
like you said, loaded question. Like, that's a bomb. Okay, that one needs.
I dropped it on you. I dropped it. I'm like, things are going good here. Things are going here. Yeah. Bam.
Here's one where it's like you can offend a whole bunch of people right now. Good luck.
But hey, listen, that's another thing in coaching I've had to really adjust to, because I like to be Switzerland. I like to stay relatively neutral. You're always going to upset somebody.
Yeah, I'm okay with it, but I want to do it for good reason, right? Like, I don't want people to just think I'm a jackass piping on.
Yeah.
I like schools trainers. I think they're important in our game.
Yeah.
When I think about it being done for money, which it should be, I think about protecting the reputation of good skills trainers and protecting the reputation of professional coaches.
For sure.
Right? Like, that's the perspective that I view it with. So how do we keep it reputable so that everyone can keep making money?
Yeah.
And someone along the line doesn't go, you know what? Screw all of you, right?
Yeah.
I don't want someone, like, just because it's a boom and someone taking advantage, to hurt the rest of us. Because I think, like you said, if we're creating opportunities for coaches, we got to keep that, right? We can't just be like, oh, money, exploit it. Like, this needs to be sustainable.
But we also have to put some onus on the consumer. Like, the public has to decide. Like, if you go to the guy, and your kid has a great time and he's happy, is that enough? Like, or do you need like tangible results? That's the difference between like just experiencing it or using it to try to get something else out of it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It never falls to the consumer. I wish it did. It always falls on us, man. You know that.
I know.
We work camps, I know. It's never the kid's fault. It's never the parents' fault. I was camp counselor for a long time.
Where'd you do that? I was too. That was awesome.
City of Welland. So I was like a date.
Yeah, I did it for City of Belleville. Usports, I think it was called at the time. Like, we would just do everything. Like, you'd play every sport.
Ours wasn't even sports. Ours was like it was like a camp. It was like a day camp.
Like drawing pictures and like playing camp games.
We had a really cool staff. Worked with a lot of cool people that I knew before or are friends with since. But basically, I would with my group, I would run the sports, and someone would do crafts, and we games and stories, and you go swimming every day and go a trip once a week. But there was a kid. Cav, I'll never forget this, and it was a important lesson learned. Kid, I watched him bit another kid.
Damn.
Teeth marks. Watched it happen in front of my face. Took pictures of teeth marks. Called mom. Hey, because this kid had some disciplinary issues, we'll say.
Sure.
And mom's like, you know what? Next time he does something, call me and we'll decide what to do. So, okay. No problem. Hey, so-and-so bit a kid. What do you mean he bit a kid? I mean, he took his mouth and he put it on another kid's back and bit.
Jesus.
He said, no, he didn't. And I said, yeah, I saw it. I have a picture of the teeth mark. No, my son would never do that. Nothing happened. And I'm like,
the rose-colored goggles.
All right, nothing happened. Let's go. I'm not having this argument right now. Man. But yeah.
The camp life's tough. It's really great. I did it for a long time, actually. That's where I got my real desire to continue coaching, was in a camp called Camp Wayne in Pennsylvania. I ended up going down there for 5 summers, and I would stay and work the 5-star basketball camp after. They would come in and rent the courts for a week. So I really had a really good opportunity to learn down there, and that was what got me going. But I love camp life. There's no worries when you're at overnight camp. I don't know if you did overnight camp.
I did. I wasn't a counselor.
Yeah, all your meals are taken care of. Everything's easy. There's a laundry service. Like, you just gotta like be there and have a good time.
Yeah,
You know,
I'd love to do. My summers have been busy with provincial or now CBL ball, but I would love to do a camp down.
Yeah.
A 5-star, even like a university camp down there, college camp down there. I think
for sure.
A blast.
For sure. Man, we get off the rails sometimes. That was great. We we were just gone fishing there for a minute. All right, let's go. I'm sure we could chat all night. I got 2 more questions for you. Yeah. One's broader strokes and one's a fun one. How do we grow the game?
Okay. Big strokes.
Broad strokes. Don't worry about it. Just what comes to mind?
Listen, I think it starts. Okay, this is my opinion.
That's all we ask.
I think that ultimately leagues like the OSBA will hurt basketball in this country. I think
really.
I think that removing that talent from our high school system. Now it's necessary, right? It became necessary because
this is going to be a good story.
Just listen to my premise, because it became necessary because of our players leaving to the States. Right. Migration to the States. So it became necessary. But I'm a believer that on the women's side, I think it helped tremendously because I think there was a huge hole in high school basketball. I think Jewel filled that for a long time. Yeah. And the OSBA stepped in and made what it is, and Jewel's still a fantastic league. Mm-hmm. Fergie does a great job. But I think that I'll rephrase. I think the making elite of our basketball at a young age, especially the grade 9 and 10 level, will hurt our game in the long run. We'll have better players. Our national team will be better. Yeah. Our domestic game will be hurt. Yeah. Only because there are less kids playing.
Right.
Removing that from our high school system or our OBA system or whatever system it was taken out of. You said earlier, there's only 12 kids on a team.
Yes.
Right? Yes. 12 kids on a team. Well, now all of a sudden, let's put an OSBA team in somewhere near Ottawa, right? In a small area near Ottawa.
Sure.
Outside the city.
Sure.
Okay. So now you're going to get the 3 best kids from that high school.
Yeah.
We'll go there. Yeah. That high school team is now terrible.
Yeah.
You're going to get the 3 best high school kids from the next 3 high schools. So there's 9 kids there that aren't in your high school league playing against each other. Yeah. Now you got 9 of them on one team. Yeah. How many basketballs do they play with, Kev?
1.
Okay. So instead of these 3 teams having 3 really good players on each team where they get to go against each other and compete, and they might bring 1 or 2 kids up to a level where they're playing in these better basketball games where they're being exposed to things, we've eliminated now. We have a good team with 9 really good players who are all going to go on to play post-secondary. Yeah. But now you've eliminated, 8 kids from this school, 9 kids from that school, 8 kids from this school who either aren't playing completely or their team's terrible and their coaching has gone down a level because, quite frankly, the good coaches don't want to coach those teams. They want to coach OSBA. Okay. So now coaching's gone down a level. So I don't think that OSBA or elite leagues are evil. I don't think that. I just think that it's going to be a result of North American culture moving towards this eliteness in sport is going to hurt all of our sports, but that's how it's going to affect basketball. And there's no reversal. We're not going back. So
my rebuttal.
Yes.
We're in debate mode now.
In defense of the OSBA.
In defense of increasing participation, not the OSBA.
Yes.
Okay. There's 2 things that really stood out to me in your comments. The first is that when the better players leave, then the team that there's left at that school is now terrible. Well, just because the product on the floor isn't as good as it was, the experience should remain the same. And when I talk to coaches who say, "Oh, I don't want to coach that team because they're no good," I hate that fucking response. Mm-hmm. You should give the same passion to the kids that aren't at the high level because when you're done playing, you don't even remember the playing. You remember the trips. You remember the camaraderie. You remember the friends. You remember the adversity. Like every kid that got cut from that high school team, because those 3 kids were there that were exceptional, lost out on the opportunity to have something to do after school every day, to have somewhere to go and have a goal to work towards and like be part of a group. And just because the coach's ego, oh, I'm a high school coach. Yeah, you also make $90,000 as a teacher. So don't give me that shit. If you want to be a coach, quit your teaching job and come in here with the rest of us and let's try to be professional coaches. And give the kids that, even though the product and the quality of play isn't as good, the same energy, the same teaching, the same coaching that you did when you had the good players. Because if you win a high school game in that small town in Ottawa, the only person that gives a shit is maybe your wife when you get home and you can tell her, I won today, honey.
Trust me, not even her. My mother, I live with.
Okay, exactly.
I listen, I get what you're saying. I think that's probably what should happen, right? Like what you said.
It's not a reality. That's not a reality, but that's what should happen if we want to grow the game.
And I'm telling you that that is what happened in this house. My dad would probably hit me for saying what I said, right? Like, is that, yes, like obviously we're coaching the kids the same, but
yes,
if we're talking about growing the game, right, from a participation aspect, I don't know what I keep thinking for now, not necessarily elite, but higher level developing players, right?
Yeah, those people are already going to be there.
Yes, but I think that there are kids that develop late that we're just removing from our system.
How are we removing them if they develop late? That kid might get the ball more now because the kid that was ahead of them,
they're gonna get the ball more in practice. They're not going to be challenged to the same level. So like that kid's still like, that kid's going to develop more playing with a better player. It's going to happen, right? If we're talking good coaching or coaching that cares,
the
kid's going to develop more being around a better player.
I agree with that.
So,
but it's relative, because if you're not that good of a player and you're with other guys that aren't that good, you're the best version of that 12 guys. Those other 11 guys are looking up to you because you're the best player on the team. You're going to, it's relative.
Yes. And it would be fine if we had the depth of talent everywhere. And we've got
to stop this with talent. We have the depth. We have the depth of talent. We got to stop giving a shit if you're any good. You should get to play basketball if you suck. The one thing that hockey does awesome is people start playing hockey in their adult lives and they suck, but they go to the rink once or twice a week with other adults that suck and they have their skate and they love it. And they talk about the Leafs and they enjoy it and they have a beer and they love it. And that's part of their like whole routine in their life. We don't do that in basketball because there's so much ego in the game. If you're not any good, it's like you shouldn't even show up. There's a place for that. That's the stream we're in. If we want to grow the game, we've got to create other ways for people to participate.
I'm scarred by my past. I'll be honest.
We all are. Yeah, we all are.
What we're talking about is what killed Welland Minor basketball.
Right.
Welland Minor basketball pulled the rep players out of its 1 day a week house league.
Right.
And the house league went from 8 teams and 6 teams and 6 teams and 8 teams in their 8 divisions.
Right.
To 3 and 4 and 4 and 2. And now it doesn't exist.
Right.
So yes, I understand what you're saying, and we can build lifelong participation. People can have great experiences still.
Yes.
But ultimately, these things will die out and they will find other avenues.
Yes.
If they feel like they're not part of the show or not part of
if we refuse to change and provide new ways for people to participate.
Yes.
Now, in some communities, I get it. There's going to be a really finite number of basketball players. But if we don't offer programs that allow new entry and grow the participant base, then yes, every time, this is the old school mentality in basketball. If someone leaves my team to go to somewhere else, there's not someone in there to replace it. I've just lost that resource and those registration fees, and now my club is lesser. That's why none of us want to collaborate, because every time a kid or a family leaves my organization and goes somewhere else, I feel like there's not someone else coming up behind them that are going to pick up those registration fees. And now my whole model's screwed because all I rely on is registration fees, because I won't run like a business. I've got to be not for profit. Plus I have my own full-time job. By the time I even get to practice, I'm exhausted and have very little left to give. So I don't want to go and put all this energy into creating new programs and developing resources and doing all this stuff, right? Like, and it's not a simple fix. I'm not saying like it's a simple fix, but ultimately, like, every time we create a new program in basketball, whatever it is, in any community across the country, everybody's pissed because they think, whether it's a club team, a new house league, a 3-on-3, a new skill trainer, a new camp, it's like, you're taking my money. The only small amount of money that I get to make out of this basketball thing, because if my kid leaves this camp to go to that camp, there's not another kid waiting to come to my camp.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think that we aren't far off, as weird as this sounds.
Yeah.
Because I think we're both arguing for the same thing.
I agree.
We need to create something that isn't an elite streaming of people.
Yeah.
So they can enjoy the basketball experience. So that's good.
Yeah.
You know, my thinking, like you said, is a little bit old, where it's like, well, if we keep players more, you build it up through the players, right?
Yeah.
Where what you're saying is building new programming.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
new ways to participate.
It's new ways to participate. And yes, that will drive participation. Now,
I also 1,000,000% agree with you that before grade 11, only in very rare situations should that person be leaving home. They should be at home. That's what is best for them. That's how they'll develop social emotional maturity and support and be able to fail and learn how to manage themselves when they do take that next step. So I think we are, every parent thinks their kid is a unicorn and they need to go when they're 14. No, like, we all know who the kid is who's 14 and needs to go. Yeah. There's only one of those, maybe two in the country. Mm-hmm. Every other kid there should be a rule like hockey has. 16, you can go to the OHL.
Yeah.
Before that, you play AAA at home. Yeah. I totally agree with that. And I think ultimately too, like, the good players are going to always be there. Mm-hmm. It's not what we're doing that's making them play. They're playing because they're good and they put the time in and they care enough.
Kevin Pangos played at Dr. Dennison.
Exactly.
Best point guards in Europe.
Exactly.
Deschamps Pierre played at Anderson.
Yeah.
And they played against each other in Niagara Falls in the AAA offs.
Yeah.
The place was jammed. Right. Like,
totally.
It's the players. The players will be there and will continue to be there.
Yeah.
The elite arm in Canada basketball, and like, it's a space that's been filled by a couple of people, but it needed to go there because kids were leaving and going to the States.
For sure. They still are.
Yeah, and they still are. But like, remember that W5 special?
Oh yeah, on like all the mayhem, like the fake schools and stuff.
Yeah, at least like it goes back to making it reputable, and it is right. Yes. Like, great, and it's fantastic. You go to a game and it's high level basketball in your backyard, and it's some kids that are going to be playing in, like, watching Southwest versus Niagara prep. Yeah, women's.
Yeah,
there's a Duke, Wisconsin player on one team. There's an Arizona player on the other team. Like, that's
Iowa State.
Iowa State, right? Like, there's high level players out there. It's fantastic. Sure. They're older. They're grade 12s, right?
Yeah. They came when they were young too, and that was a big change for them. But anyways, here's what I think we can fully agree on is there's no one way, and it's got to be everything. We've got to offer. We talk about the Pro Canadian Invitational. We've got to offer support for Canadians to get to the professional ranks. We've got to offer kids to get from high school to university scholarships. NCAA, Usports, CCAA, D2, D3, JUCO, whatever the right fit is. We've got to offer opportunities for kids to play, high level AAU. We got to offer opportunities to play more localized club. We got to have house league. We got to have individual skill trainers. We got to have 3-on-3. We got to have camps. It's everything. We have to provide just ways for people to be included and have a chance. Like the adult segment of basketball has a huge room for growth.
That's probably honestly the biggest room for growth.
For sure.
Like,
for sure.
There's no like, you go out to Nova Scotia and there's open divisions in every tournament in the summer.
Yeah.
Like there's not really that here.
No. Yeah. And just like, it's a little bit more of everything. There's no drastic changes required. The talent and players is here. Talent and coaching is here. The infrastructure starting to come, like the playground. I'm super blessed to be part of that change. And it's not just us. There's other people all over the country that are building private facilities and different ways to create access to gyms that we never had before. And then the media, the marketing, like administration, being in the head office of a CEBL team, like all of those jobs around the game, the media, the visibility, like getting, we can stream now, like everybody can produce the games, like streaming it, building audiences, showing the big networks that is possible. Like it takes all of it. And, I love how you are a product of your experience, because your experience with your family and your father is deep rooted. It's not like you just like showed up as a 27-year-old guy and like have these opinions about things. Like you've seen it work that way. You've seen it be a big part of people's lives that way. And that's super important. And there's tons of lessons why we shouldn't do stuff. And there's tons of lessons in there why we should challenge ourselves and do things differently and grow. And, it's amazing that you're able to share that with us all. And I love talking about it with you, and that's another thing that I think we maybe get a little screwy about in basketball is we're also insecure. We don't want to talk to each other. And if you have a different opinion than me, I'm just going to go do something else. And we're not going to talk it out. We're not going to find a solution. So it's great that we're doing this. We're off the rails again.
Yeah.
But the other thing I want to talk about is, part of my job is prospecting new playground locations.
Yeah.
And so finding areas, places, people that see the vision in private spaces, inclusive spaces year round that want to have something that in their community. If we were to give you a blank check and you could put a playground anywhere, where would it be and what would it look like?
Calgary.
Really?
I just think that Alberta right now is one of the more, and this is going to sound like I go to gyms in Toronto and recruit all the time.
Yeah.
To tell a person from Toronto that they're playing good basketball anywhere else but Toronto is sacrosanct to them, right? Like,
right.
I was sitting down, I was at Crown Royal with a couple guys and we were watching Edge.
Royal Crown.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was at Crown Royal the other night in Vegas.
It's 10:00, man. It's past my time. But Royal Crown, and we were watching Edge Prep versus KES. So a Scotia team versus Calgary team. Yeah. And these Toronto guys were just like, oh, it was a women's game. Oh, there's some good players out here. Yeah. Oh yeah, guys. Yeah. People play basketball outside of Toronto. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you look at some of these high school teams in Calgary, there's a huge South Sudanese population in Calgary. Like there are teams where there's like 8 guys over 6'6" on, like there are, it's going to be the next boom of players are going to come from Calgary, Northern Alberta. Like nice. That's where it's going to start to come from, I think. And I think you see that like, in their provincial teams. And like, there's a kid who was at that U17 nationals that we coached at who plays football for Clemson. I think ACOT. Okay. Maybe. But there's a kid named Boo Boo Benjamin. Yeah. I think he's going to be on their summer games team this summer. Right. That kid's good. That kid's really good, right? Like there's some really good players from out there. Yeah. And I think that another facility independent of the schools out there
Yeah.
could get them in and could run programming. And there's lots of AAU teams in the city.
Love
There's
that.
lots of players running an open pickup in the summer. Like you
How many courts?
Oh, it'd have to be probably like 3. Like it would look
Yeah.
like, just the thing you have to but
Yeah.
to explain about Canada West is those gyms are all fantastic and very spacious and
Yeah.
and
They put
beautiful.
more into the infrastructure out there.
Yeah, so it would have to be 3 courts to match the area.
Yeah.
Like Humber setup,
Yeah.
where you could set it up and stage it for a game, or you could have 3 courts going at once.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have those trainers, blank check, you would want drop-in sessions every day before school, after school, run by a coach or 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you would want open pickup, and then hopefully you're partnered with a couple different organizations for practices at night. You're running sessions on the weekend, games on the weekend, and then open pickup in the summer, and you get the kids in, right? So
what about like anything else? Like you want a barber shop in there? Like, this is blank check territory, e-gaming studio.
Yeah, man, I'm not
golf simulator.
Like in my office, I would want the golf simulator in the back.
There you go.
So I could, pick that up. But you want the treatment facilities.
Yeah.
You partner with you want physio clinics in there, and then you get your strength and conditioning guys. So there's always people coming in and out, either for treatment, general population, or for work.
Yeah.
And even make it like have a gym area where it's like a membership gym area where like
nice.
Kevin's coming after work and he's working out.
Yeah, I need to try that. I want again.
Yeah. So no, like it would be that all-purpose facility with the basketball at the center of it, but then you also have the strength coaches in the fitness area, and then you have your physios and your maybe a massage therapist area attached to it, so that you keep people in the building. Mom can drop off whoever and then go get her hip looked at.
Yeah,
by the physio.
Love that. I'll call you to consult when we go out there. Alberta's definitely on the expansion plan, so it's awesome that you thought of them and wanted to go there. Let's finish with Pro Canadian Invitational. So super excited to have you as a part of it. Can't wait to see you in your element, doing your thing out there. What are you looking forward to about the experience? Like, it's the first time, so we're gonna test and learn. We're gonna figure some stuff out. But what's got you hype about the event?
I mean, the players, right? They're the exciting part. Lots of great coaches involved from the committee. So everybody that's been announced, like, familiar with most of them, and really excited to see some of these coaches work their stations and just work with the guys that we're assigned to. I think the first day you said we're assigned to eight players, and create a connection with them and help them through this process, which is going to be wild for some of them. It's going to be new. It's going to be a lot of stimuli. So just keeping it simple for them and helping them get to point A to point B without worrying. Like, that's going to be the exciting part. Is we're trying to help these players succeed.
Sure.
That's what it comes down to. And that's the exciting part, is that it's 32 of the best players who are graduating, not coming back, looking for pro contracts. Right. So no, I mean, that's cool. And then, I get to coach a 5-on-5 game that the Saturday night. And then hopefully you team Danielle and I up, and we get to kick some butt as River Lions assistants in a 5v5 game in front of some people. Like, anytime, man. Anytime one of my teams can lace up against anyone else, that's exciting. Yeah. So,
I'll be scouting your defense for the see if that comes out, if you guys get down.
I don't have enough time to play in the Amiibo for sure.
Hey boys, here's the pop quiz. I'm going to test your IQ in front of the scouts.
Yeah,
we're gonna drop into the Amiibo right now.
We want to make guys look good. That's the whole point. We want to make them look good. So as long as they can handle a ball screen, we're fine. Yeah,
no doubt. That's awesome. Thanks, man. Glad we've had a chance to catch up. You look forward to chatting much more with you. And the crazy part, I think, about you and your career is how young you are still, and how you're really just at the beginning of your journey and maturation as a person and as a coach. And I really appreciate the opportunity to call you a friend and a basketball colleague, and really, really excited for your future, and any small role I can play in that development. I'm here for you, and we will grow the game together, and everybody who comes into your teams and your presence is really lucky to have you. So thanks for being yourself and doing what you do, and keep representing that Niagara region, even though I know part of your heart's still out east.
Hey man, I love the East Coast. I miss it. I do, but I'm glad I'm home. And thanks for the kind words. Like, it's pretty cool to strike up a friendship a couple of years ago. Just my head was still in cloud nine, but we struck a friendship, and
I'm still in cloud nine, bud.
we're able to sit down and talk and really connect, and it's lasted a couple of years, and it's great every time we get the chance to chat. I really do enjoy it. Like, whether there were cameras on or not, we would probably talk for this long anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if we were golfing, it'd be 4.5 hours. So we got to get that done too.
I mean, I got a round today in 2:45. Got 18 in.
Oh my God.
I go pretty quick.
That's what, 77, 78?
What I shoot?
Yeah.
81.
Okay.
81.
Yeah, it's early. Conditions weren't good.
Yeah, swing needs work. Driver was okay, but needs to be better.
81's a great score, man.
I'm happy with an 81. I'm ecstatic, but
love that.
Yeah, got some work to do for sure.
That's amazing. Well, let's get that in this summer. Maybe surrounding the summer games, which is in Niagara, we can sneak off.
Yeah,
at some point.
To a nice course
before or after. Maybe my championship celebration when you're the bridesmaid. We'll go play 18.
Hey man, I don't have a team. I don't think I can be a bridesmaid, but
you can be the drunk uncle then.
I'll be the drunk uncle, but I will have to root for. I coached the U15 group. I was the boys' head coach.
Yeah.
And these guys were at nationals, so
yeah,
I'll be cheering for the Nova Scotians pretty hard.
You're gonna be one of those parents with the half jersey, like they sew it at home. Half Nova Scotia, half.
I can't root for Team Ontario. I can't do that. I can't. I spent too much time just.
Yeah, that's fair.
In the dark room trying to beat them.
That's fair.
I never actually got to coach against Team Ontario, so that's kind of a
right. It'll happen one day.
Two things would have to happen. I have to move, and someone would have to actually hire me to
you never know.
Never know. But
Brad, one of the great things Brad taught me was two things you shouldn't say is never and always.
Yeah, no, it's true. But a couple things would have to happen before I got that chance again. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if Team Ontario hired me. I should probably apply next time around.
Yeah, maybe we'll get you in the mix.
Yeah,
a hired gun. How do we beat these Scotian guys? They're all brothers, cousins.
I'll be like Jay Triano with 2008 USA.
There you go.
Everyone talks about you guys like you're overrated. Like, just you remember that speech that was on LeBron?
Just the bulletin. You're the bulletin board material.
Yeah, there you go.
That's jokes. All right, Chris. Appreciate you. 9 days, man. I'll see you in 9 days.
9 days. Let's do it.
All right, Pro Cam this year is going to be awesome. Talk to you soon.
Talk soon.
Okay, bye.